While Keir Starmer has maintained a diplomatic tone in public about Donald Trump, emphasizing the importance of a strong UK-US relationship, subtle tensions have arisen between Trump and Starmer's Labour Party. Labour's Foreign Secretary David Lammy, before assuming his current role, described Trump as a neo-Nazi sympathizing sociopath and a KKK and Nazi sympathizer. These comments resurfaced during Starmer's tenure, raising concerns about Labour's capacity to manage ties with Trump's administration effectively. Donald Trump has frequently criticized Labour under Starmer's leadership, framing the party as a threat to US-UK relations. He dismissed Starmer as weak and accused Labour of advancing radical socialist policies that could harm trade and defense agreements. After Lammy's past remarks resurfaced, Trump reportedly labeled Labour officials as anti-American and claimed they don't understand success. Despite these tensions, Starmer has publicly insisted on prioritizing diplomacy and collaboration. Labour initially held a critical stance toward Donald Trump, particularly during his presidency, with key figures like David Lammy openly condemning his rhetoric and policies. This approach reflected Labour's alignment with progressive values and opposition to Trump's controversial stances on climate and international relations. However, as Trump's influence persisted and he regained political prominence during the 2024 U.S. election, Labour adjusted its tone to safeguard the vital UK-US relationship. Starmer emphasized diplomacy, prioritizing pragmatism over ideological differences to maintain strong transatlantic ties amid Trump's political resurgence. Donald Trump's relationship with Nigel Farage has been a significant subplot in transatlantic politics. Trump has openly praised Farage on multiple occasions, calling him a spectacular man and bringing him on stage during his rallies, such as the one in Pennsylvania in 2024.
Come on, Nigel. He's very shy. Thank you.
Oh, I'm non-controversial and shy compared to you. I got to say, 4 years ago, I was honoured to come to America to bring the Brexit message, the message that you can beat the establishment. And that is what Donald Trump did. He beat the pollsters, he beat the media, he beat all the predictions. And here's the worst bit, they've never forgiven him for it. They've never, ever forgiven him. They have spent 4 years trying to delegitimize him. 4 years of the Russia hoax. 4 years of a false impeachment. Most human beings under that barrage would have given up. This is the single most resilient and bravest person I have ever met in my life.
Farage was not only a guest, but was seated alongside senior Republican figures, signaling his close ties to Trump. Farage often wore a MAGA hat, symbolizing his support, and encouraged the UK to roll out the red carpet for Trump, emphasizing the importance of US-UK relations in areas like trade and defense. Farage's public backing of Trump has bolstered his image among right-leaning audiences in both the US and UK. This relationship contrasted sharply with Labour's approach under Keir Starmer. Labour had to navigate a delicate balance as past statements from party members, such as Foreign Secretary David Lammy calling Trump a neo-Nazi sympathizing sociopath, came back to haunt them. Trump's criticism of Labour as anti-American and radical socialist added fuel to this tension. The Labour Party's efforts to maintain diplomacy were challenged by Trump's direct attacks and Farage's reinforcement of Trump's narrative. Farage's involvement with Trump also served to highlight divisions in UK politics regarding the former president. While some UK leaders sought to distance themselves, Farage leaned into his association, portraying it as a bridge for stronger bilateral ties, especially in a post-Brexit world. This dynamic illustrates how Trump and Farage's relationship has transcended national politics, shaping broader narratives about populism, diplomacy, and leadership across the Atlantic.
Voting Keir Starmer, the UK Premier.
Yes, he's coming tonight.
What do you think of him? Some of his colleagues in government are quite critical of you.
Well, I'm going to see him in about an hour, so I have to be nice, right? But I actually think he's very nice. I think he ran a great race. He did very well. It's very early, but he's popular, and I'll be seeing him, and I'll send you regards. Who are you with? Who are you with?
GB News in the UK.
Okay, good.
But would you rather Nigel Farage would have a bigger role?
Well, I think Nigel is great. I mean, I've known him for a long time. He had a great election, too. He picked up a lot of seats, more seats than he was allowed to have, actually. They acknowledge that he won, but for some reason you have a very strange system over there.
Keir Starmer has been cautious in his public stance on Nigel Farage. While Labour generally refrains from directly engaging with Farage, especially given his controversial politics, Starmer's team has acknowledged his influence in UK politics, particularly after Farage's role in Brexit and the formation of Reform UK. However, Labour has typically distanced itself from Farage's brand of populism. Farage's approach has been a poisonous factor for many in Labour, as they believe his presence contributes to a shift rightward in British politics, pulling focus away from the more progressive policies Starmer supports. Labour's decision to not actively fight Farage has been criticized by some as short-sighted, though it was seen as a strategic move to keep focus on defeating the Conservatives rather than escalating conflicts with Farage. Here's what Starmer had to say in the House of Commons.
Well, I'm glad to see the honourable member making a rare appearance back here in Britain. He spent so much time in America recently. I was half expecting to see him on the immigration statistics when we see the next batch. But he may have missed. I did congratulate the incoming president last week. And we will work with him. The point he makes about Iran is a very serious point, and we will work across the House and with our allies on it. Obviously, on question of prescription, we keep them under review. Thank you.
In conclusion, Labour's reputation under Keir Starmer has been somewhat tarnished by its handling of international tensions. While Starmer's diplomatic approach was meant to focus on pragmatic relations, past criticisms of Trump and Labour's failure to confront populism directly have left the party open to scrutiny. The strategic decisions to avoid escalating conflicts, especially with Farage's influence, have raised concerns about the party's ideological consistency, leaving Labour to balance political pragmatism with its core values. Here's what Niall Gardner had to say.
So all of this doesn't help. And I think that Trump undoubtedly will view Keir Starmer as a woke lefty. And I think that Trump will seek to work very closely with conservatives in the United Kingdom rather than with the socialists.
And that's interesting. Of course, Keir Starmer will argue that he's had successful meetings with Donald Trump. They spoke on the phone in the last couple of days. And Donald Trump was quoted as saying, "You will always have a friend in me." Do you not think that if Keir Starmer managed to get a trade deal with the US across the line, that would actually be quite a positive for the Prime Minister and perhaps reboot his own premiership?
Well, I think a US-UK trade deal would be a huge positive, and a lot of the negotiations were already conducted, of course, under the Conservatives previously with Trump when he was president. But I have very little faith in Keir Starmer's willingness and ability to put in place a trade deal. I think the socialist government in the UK right now is a disaster for Britain. It's disastrous